Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining our Guru Talks today. It's one of the most awaited Guru Talks of this year, 2026, with Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala. We're really happy with the responses that we have got so far. Professor, thank you so much in advance for agreeing to do the Guru Talks for our alumni community and the whole ecosystem. I'm going to now request Mr. Badri Sheshadri, EC member, IIT Madras Alumni Association, to please formally welcome Professor.
Thank you, Nishani. It's my privilege to welcome and introduce Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala, a Padma Shri awardee in the year 2002. He's currently Institute Professor in IIT Madras and Chairman for the ITIL Foundation. Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala is widely regarded as one of the architects of India's deep tech ecosystem. Over the last 4 decades, he has played a transformative role in shaping India's technology landscape through pioneering work in telecommunication, energy, banking, mobility, and entrepreneurship. Among his landmark contributions are the Cordet wireless revolution, which enabled affordable telecommunication access in rural India, the establishment of the IIT Madras Research Park, which is a phenomenal effort, India's largest industry academia innovation ecosystem, the creation of the IIT Madras Incubation Cell, which has nurtured over 350 startups, including unicorns such as Unifor and pioneering companies like Aether Energy. Professor Jhunjhunwala joined IIT Madras in 1981 after completing his BTech in Electrical Engineering from IIT Kanpur and his PhD from the University of Maine, United States. He founded the Telecommunication and Computer Networks TENET Group and continues to champion technology-led innovation for societal impact. He has served as Principal Advisor to the Ministry of Power and Ministry of Railways, both Government of India, and currently serves as Chairman of the CSIR Advisory Board. Over the years, he has been associated with the boards of State Bank of India, Bharat Electronics Limited, Tata Communications, Mahindra Electric, Tejas Networks, and SEBI's Technology Advisory Committee. In recognition of his extraordinary contribution to science, engineering, and innovation, he was awarded the Padma Shri in 2002. I'm also delighted to invite all of you who are in Chennai to the launch of Roots and Wings. It's an authorized biography of Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala, which is being released, and there's a function happening on 25th of June, Thursday, that's next week, at the Madras Management Association in Chennai. I'm also happy to note that I am the publisher for this book. It's authored by Saloni Malhotra. Roots and Wings captures the extraordinary life work of Professor Jhunjhunwala, someone who began shaping India's deep tech ecosystem, and you are going to get a glimpse of many of those things today in this talk. And it's long before the country spoke of sovereignty or self-reliance. His journey is defined by a relentless pursuit of solving the hardest problems, where impossible was simply the starting point and failure a building block for progress. So, thank you, Professor Jhunjhunwala, for agreeing to give this talk. Without any further delay, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Badri, and thank you, Nishani, Papia, and all of you. It's an honor to talk to, I will say, my students. I may not have taught each one of you, but anybody who has passed through IIT Madras, I consider it as our students. Good to meet you. I wish I could see you people, but anyway, at least I'm talking to you. I won't mind being interrupted if you feel that. But I will start my talk. I've deliberately not made my talk large. I made it small. I could have made it much larger. Actually, it's a part of a much larger talk. I deliberately cut it so that we can spend more time talking to each other. So I've titled my talk, Making India a Product Nation. And with the objective to solve India's complex challenges and in the process drive India towards global technology leadership. This is the vision of a new organization called Immersive Technology and Entrepreneurship Labs, or ITIL. This actually has been formed by A number of the founders of this includes Sanjeev Bikachandani, Chris Gopalakrishnan, Saurabh Shrivastava, Arun Jain, Ashish Dhawan, Rajan Anandan, Amit Chadha, Ajay Chaudhary, Mukesh Bansal, C.P. Gurnani, Vani Kola, Srini Naju, and several other people like this. Now, let me give a little background why they pushed me to create this new organization, Section 8 company, and why did they ask me to become the chairman. Basically, all of you know today, their inspiration, they had visited IIT Madras. NASSCOM had a board meeting at IIT Madras Research Park about 2.5 years back. And at the board meeting, they had seen the research park. They found out, they probably knew already, but they saw that how research park was built just outside IIT Madras and built like a startup. It started with certain seed funds and seed funds from both the government and some alumni, but it borrowed 350 crore rupees from the banks. And banks gave the money because there was a strong business plan. And of course, they didn't give it in one lot, they gave it in pieces. And we actually returned the money in about 12 years, maybe close to 500, 550 crore rupees we returned. And today we earn actually 80 crore rupees cash profit every year. Don't want to get into details of the research park. The only point that I want to make, it's a board-driven company, independent of government, and I will also say independent of IIT Madras administration. When I started, there people like Wagul, Ratan Tata, Vinod Rai, the ex-CAG. These were people who kind of advised me, and they had said that very important to make the company independent of government and even from independent from IIT administration, so that the focus becomes that to drive innovation to a great heights. Don't want to get into details of what happened at Research Park, but at the same place we created IITM Incubation Cell. And by June 2024, by the time the group met me and asked me to set up ITEL, we had incubated 350 companies. And the current value of these 350 companies is 70,000 crore rupees. And there are about 25 companies like Unifor, MediBuddy, Goovi, where we would have invested close to 10,000 rupees and would have got about 10 crore rupees or more. Now, and that's the reason why the overall value becomes 70,000 crores. The group also knew about my earlier work in wireless and local group, the NASSCOM group, and then that I was a founder of Tejas Network, one of the founder of Tejas Network, and we actually merged the wireless group, which worked with me and Bhaskar Ramurthy in 90s, into Tejas Network sometime around 2010 or so. And today, Tejas Network is one of the 6 companies in the world which has 5G technologies. Similarly, the group also knew that I was a founder chairman of Mobile Payment Forum of India in 2000, started in 2007, was chairman for 6 years, and we actually laid the foundation for UPI. And therefore, they said that I had actually handed over charge. I was going to hand over charge in June of 2024. They said your task is not finished. You create this company ITEL and make India the product nation. Now, I was a little reluctant because I was 71-year-old, but then they said that you become the chairman, find the right executives. India needs to become a product nation. Otherwise, the Make in India program has a relatively small value addition. We need in about 10 areas, we need to be product leaders. So I kind of agreed, and they all initially funded. And that's the reason why ITEL was actually formed. They asked me to come back in about 2-3 months and present what could be the strategy. There was a brainstorming, and I actually pointed out to them that there are about 150,000 scientists in India. A good percentage are very good, but mostly they publish papers. I also talked about the very, very good youngsters the kind of youngsters that we saw at the incubation cell, if nurtured, they can do wonders. So I said that, however, if we try to say take leadership in quantum computing, the problem is that we may invest as much as $10 billion, but US will invest $500 billion, China will invest $500 billion. There is no way we can take leadership with this approach. So we said we need something alternative. And the alternative that I suggested is that we will take up the problems of India which are considered impossible to solve. We'll take up those problems which people have given up. And we will try to create consortiums. And there's very well thought out why the consortium. We said we will take 5 to 8 multi-institution scientists, not just from IIT Madras, but from all over the country. Because in a specific area, if you want to pick up 5 to 8 top people, you will have to do it from across the country. And we'll get 8 to 10 startups associated with it, and then go all out to find the solution. Remember, the problems are extremely difficult and considered impossible to solve. But we do not mind failing. We'll go all out to solve the problem. And when we solve the problem, if we solve the problem, we will move towards world leadership. That's the approach that we said we will. Now, of course, the group said, fine, this is okay. But what kind of problems that we are talking about? And I actually asked them, what are the most difficult problems? What are the problems that you face? The first problem we of course partnered with pretty much all IITs and many of the other smaller institutes while doing this. Because we needed a consortium from across the country. Because otherwise the problems cannot be solved. So what are the problems? The most difficult problem that I was actually, the impossible problem that it was referred to is urban congestion. Today in Chennai, it takes 15 kilometers to 15 kilometer travel in the busy hour takes 75 minutes. That means a person spends 2.5 hours every day commuting office to home to office. And the situation is worse in other cities. What we discussed and said, can we reach from home to office in 20 minutes flat? The answer was impossible, and we said, well, we'll take that problem. Urban, nowadays, because of the increasing GHG emission, we are seeing very, very 2 to 3 times a year heavily waterlogged, most cities. We took a very simple statement, can we make these cities free of urban waterlogs? Another problem was pointed out, all over waste is there, dump yards, and then somebody light fire, and then immediately results into huge air pollution. We said, can we figure out a way to recycle every bit of garbage using all the possible technology and do that? We take up other problems. Urban air pollution. Today in Delhi, it reaches 450. We said the AQI, air quality index. How do we really take the AQI below 25? GHG emission, fossil fuel-based energy widely used in transport, homes and industries, and is hurting the world. Can we drive usage from fossil fuel to complete green electricity and green hydrogen? And then we also took up, can we recycle everything? Can we promote biomaterials and sustainable materials? On the other hand, recycle plastic, metals, batteries, solar panels, glass, electronic waste, construction waste. So these are some of the impossible. There are a few more, but they are the impossible problems that we started looking at. At the same time, we looked at problems which are extremely important for sovereignty. Cyber security, today almost 90 to 95% of our products for cyber security and the services are imported. Now, which basically means that if there is a problem, if some country wants to shut us out, it can be shut down. And we said we cannot have that, we need to have our own solutions. Same thing in power electronics, photonics, solar cells, we are totally dependent on imported technology. Battery cells, we are dependent on imported technology. Hydrogen fuel cell is increasingly becoming an important technology. Can we use artificial intelligence in education, R&D, healthcare, fintech, agriculture, assistive technology for disability and geriatrics, robotics, motors and controllers, and there are several other initiatives. And we also said towards sovereign technology, can we take climate tech? Can we ensure that green electricity is produced using solar cells designed, developed by us? Can we find out alternative way to do storage? Can we look at energy consumption, not just electric vehicles fully, but also retrofitting electric vehicles? Can we use green hydrogen for making cement, steel, glass, aluminum, fertilizer? And then materials and resource management, whether it's air quality, fossil fuel based pesticides and fertilizers for agriculture. This is a major problem. Our depleting water table, depleting, making the soil worse, huge import will. Can we make biofertilizers and biopesticides? Can we make fossil fuel based today? From there, can we, from chemicals and materials, can we transition to green chemicals and biomaterials, etc., biomass for energy? So these are kind of problems that we took up and say, let us work on some problems. And because in 10 areas, we need to win in about 10 years' time. That's the kind of thing that we took up. Let me take up some of them. I'll only talk about 3 problems. I could have talked about any number, but I'll specifically talk about 3 problems and get into it, the third problem in some detail. The first problem that I would say, eliminate urban water loss. As I pointed out, 2 to 3 times a year, the cities get completely waterlogged, and it is pretty much now every city. Can we make urban areas waterlogged? Actually, for this, the initial leadership came from IIT Gandhinagar, and then some of the very good startups that we had developed at IIT Madras joined in. Basically, we started with creating high resolution terrain map of the cities with 0.25 meters resolution. We start with the maps from the satellite, but then we use drones to do detailed mapping. We are therefore able to find out all the slopes, and we are able to identify valleys and accumulation points. Then we map all the surface and underground drains. And we also install sensors widely. So essentially, we are digitizing the whole thing. The second step is we then build a simulator. We assume a worst case rain. We took the worst case rain data historically and say, okay, if this much rain falls in that city, how much water will accumulate, where, and when? Now, this is, of course, was assuming that drains are all clean. Unfortunately, drains are not. So then we look at the drains. And there are companies now which actually send devices like this into the drains. They are able to first identify where the blockages are, and then they are able to clean the blockages. And by using that, we are able to clean it, and therefore what can be best done with the existing drain can be put onto simulation and can also, in reality, it can show up. But this sometimes may not be enough because increasing rainfall may require more. And that's where we do optimization. Still not enough. What we do is that we in fact take 1.3 times the worst case rainfall, and we again do the simulation, figure out where all water accumulation will take place. And then first we add drains onto the simulator, saying suppose we put these drains. We add, and where to put drain, we optimize the place to put drains, and we figure out when we put these drains, and if the drains are clean, will all the water get drained out. And only after that we start building those drains. So this whole program, about now 90 people are working, and we are pretty much first phase ready. All the aspects are ready. We then started in Changodkar, Gujarat, and we said that's a place which is heavily flooded. We are going to go there and try to do a complete detailed mapping and do the job, the first pilot. In the meantime, last year, Gurgaon got very, very heavy rainfall and was heavily flooded. The Gurgaon government then called us and said, we heard something like this. We said, we are not ready. We are doing pilot only. They said, That's perfectly fine. Come and do it at our place. So we have now moved to Gurgaon, and there is a full group which is now all out. It will take about 3 years to kind of make an impact at Gurgaon. And in the process, we'll be able to perfect our technology. This is the problem number one that we took up. A totally different problem, handle urban waste. Now, the problem becomes extremely important because city after city, and we saw this in Delhi quite a bit, that whatever we do to separate the garbage at home, finally the garbage gets mixed during transport and on the dump yard. So essentially, dump yards are created landfill, and then so much garbage gets accumulated that somewhere or other a fire is lit, and it pollutes land and air heavily. It also means loss of material that could have been recycled. But we saw in Delhi, for example, 15% of the pollution is due to this garbage. We said, how do we really go about it? And this is there in every city. Plus, minus, but impact may be different. We started then working with some startup and some companies. We worked on automated waste segregation technology. And early we failed quite a bit, but we didn't give up. We used all technology, whether it's image processing or robotics and some AI, to actually figure out how to separate the waste. Today, we are able to separate waste into 4 parts automatically: wet waste, dry waste, which is mostly plastic, metals, and bottles. Fortunately, metals can be sold immediately because there is some market. And bottles can also be picked up by rack pickers because, again, that can be recycled. What do you do with wet waste? And we started tying up with those who will process the wet waste into manure, which can then go into the agriculture. So that technology is there. We were able to tie up with that. And the wet waste could also be a very, very good source for biogas. So this today it's being done at scale in about 6 to 7 cities. And we are able to see that wet waste, we are able to handle it completely. It was a dry waste, which is mostly plastic, that was a problem for quite some time. And we started experimenting. Our own place, a lot of experiments was done. IIT Guwahati, some experiments were done. And then we are able to take this dry waste and then made into what's called shuttering boards. This shuttering board is used in construction. And today wood is used. We were trying to make material out of this waste plastic, and we started putting in as a shuttering board. We went to L&T, which tested everything, found out to be very, very good, and we started using it. Then we are also using it for some furniture and partitions. And we have found that this whole thing is working quite well. We are now trying to scale it all over. Everything is making a business sense. The important thing is the company, the prime company that has done it is a Trascon, by a young woman who started this work 10 years back while she was still in college. And the company is making profit. That's the most important thing, and therefore able to scale. I will go to my third problem. Actually, I wanted to start with this, but I thought this is a problem on which we will spend most time, and therefore I decided to put it the third problem, or overcome urban congestion. And this problem today is well known. Typically 75 minutes for a 15-kilometer journey in Chennai. In Bangalore, it takes longer, which basically means 2.5 hours between home and office. And if you are driving, it is not an easy drive, very tough drive, because almost bumper to bumper traffic and two-wheelers trying to cross you, and you are likely to hit anyone at any time. Huge loss of productivity, frustration, vehicular emission. So with this, we said we will take a target. In 20 minutes, we like to travel 15 kilometers from anywhere to anywhere, from any home to any office, and vice versa. We, however, put more constraint. It is not just about 20 minutes. We said since we are building it for next 100 years, it must also be 100% green electricity and highly energy efficient. It must be buildable in existing cities and should be able to handle peak traffic. And on top of it, it must be affordable, comfortable, and safe. So we said that people who drive fancy cars should, when it takes about 75 minutes, should prefer to use this, and lowest income person should also prefer to use this. And we conceived of a solution. It looked impossible, built a consortium. Besides IIT Madras and ITEL, we have IIT Tirupati and IIT Hyderabad. Fortunately, both of the directors were from IIT Madras, and probably many of you know Professor K.N. Satyanarayan. He agreed to totally partner with me and drive this whole solution. How do we do this? Let me first conceptually talk about it and then talk about what we are doing. Suppose your home is anywhere, office is anywhere. We said you will have to get a vehicle within 300 to 400 meters from any home, and you should be able to reach within 300 to 400 meters of any office, which essentially means you have to walk on both sides about 3 minutes each. Suppose between these 2 points, you create a vehicle which will go from the home to office or vice versa with no on direct path. That means no crossing, no traffic light, no stoppage. That's the important point. There is no crossing, no traffic light, no stoppage. And not one path, but we'll create 20 paths between any 2 points, if they are about 12 kilometers, 15 kilometers away. And then we'll have a complete route control, AI driven, which will choose a route such that no part of the route has more than 20% capacity. So you are essentially talking about a direct path with no crossing with less than 20% capacity. You can easily go at 80 kilometers per hour, and therefore you can cover this in about 12 kilometers. This was a conceptual solution. Now, how do you build this conceptual solution? We found that we started studying different cities, and we found that while there are 3 or 4 major north-south roads and 3 or 4 major east-west roads, direction does not matter, there are 100 smaller roads, 150 smaller roads. You see, this is a part of Chennai. There are all kinds of smaller roads. And those smaller roads are 20 feet, 25 feet, 30 feet. And generally, it is barely 2 vehicles can cross each other. So not many people travel there except to reach their home. It's the last. What we said that we will take those roads and some of those roads, and we'll build complete on those narrow roads. We'll build a platforms which will create a grid of 700 meters by 7. We'll choose some of those roads and make a east-west, north-south 700 meter by 700 meter grid. And at each cross points of these grids, there will be 2 stations, one on the north-south direction, another on east-west direction. And since it's about 700 meter by 700 meter grid, wherever you are, within 3 to 4 minutes, you can reach at least a few stations. That's a key thing. Then we actually build elevated light structures on this road. Now, these elevated light structures are built on reinforced lamppost and built on a cantilever. So essentially, they are very narrow platforms, less than a meter, and on the existing lamppost, which may be more like 20 centimeter, we put a 40 centimeter pole, and we put a cantilever, and we are able to put a platform for what we call POTS movement. And east-west and north-south are at 2 different heights. One at say 11 meters, another at 8 meters. So there is really no crossing at any point. If there is no crossing, you can go end to end anywhere, pretty much with no crossing. And at every virtual cross points, there is a east to west, uh, uh, um, and north to south. There you can turn. So from here, if you are going, you could turn like this, and from here, if you are coming, you could turn here. So there is a turning possible, though at two different heights. We actually connect at every cross point the two paths. But if you want to go straight, you don't have to stop at all. Don't wait to have to do at all. So, and there are autonomous pods that travel on this. The autonomous pods, you will get autonomous pod. So when you start a journey, you ask for a pod. You say that this is the destination that you want. The system will figure out one of the nearest station where a pod is available, will ask you to walk to that station. And while you walk to that station, pod will get ready. As soon as you get to the station, you get onto the pod, and then the pod will travel to the end destination. And look at this. Let's say between these 2 points, this is not not 15, this is a much smaller, this is only about 7 kilometer by 7 kilometer. But if you see between the starting point and end point, there could be one route like this, there could be a second route like this, there could be a third route like this, fourth route like this. There are actually many more routes, one like this, one like this. There could be one route which goes like this, and then goes like this. So there are many, many routes possible. And we try to avoid too many turnings. We say no more than 3 turnings. And choose alternate route to avoid congestion. In not any of the link, say this is a link, these are the links, there is more than 20% traffic. This is the basis of what we have tried to build. What we did this after we understood this, we put the whole group together and lots of different challenges. I'm not getting into details of what all we did, but essentially in IITM Research Park, we built on a rooftop a scaled prototype. We first built this scaled prototype. This was ready about a year back. We tested every aspect. We actually created movement from east-west to north-south and vice versa to this thing. The pods could move, pods could travel, no crossing, all those things we did. After having done that, we said now time has come to build actual system. But we did not want to build it on elevated platform because that will add to another complexity. So we said that we'll first build it for ground. So on the OMR, we took a land which is about 12 acres, and we built a route there about a kilometer or so, elliptical route, on which we are now mounting the rails. We have finished mounting the rails, and we have made a full-size pod. Of course, we have not put the sitting and all that, and we are starting to test. In about a month's time, we are hoping that these pods will be running from one end to another at the high speed and doing all that is really required. These are autonomous pod, all AI driven, completely controlled, fully redundant, etc., etc. And at the next step, we are going to Sri City, which is on the border of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Sri City is an industrial town where we'll, along with L&T is our partner, Bharat Forge is our partner, industry partner. We are going to build the elevated platform and actually test out the full-scale trials of the pod system. And essentially after that, we are ready to go commercial. We have, as I told you, partnered with L&T and Bharat Forge, and Chandrababu Naidu happened to come and see our rooftop system and said that he is very interested in getting this built in Amravati. There are other governments which are showing interest, but we are right now not ready. It will be only towards the, I'll say, end of 27, early 28, that we would be ready to start trying to actually commission in a town or a city. This is what we are trying to build. About 90 people are working on it for almost last 2.5 years, and lots of complexity, lots of difficulty. Every day we are finding, even today we continue to find that we are making mistakes, we are failing. We are not scared about our failure. We believe that retrying after failures gives us a solution. I will basically end by saying this, that, and I could have gone into almost every area that I have mentioned earlier. We have been working on many of these areas. Uh, I could have gone into urban air pollution, GHG, recycling, on all the sovereign technology. I'm not going to get into this because I'll rather interact with you what we are trying to do, how we build ITEL, what we plan to do, etc., etc. And we plan to leverage. We are using initially some grants and donations from our founders. We believe that we need some early grants and donations, because when we do a very high risk work where failures are almost certain, we cannot leverage government funds and VC funds. But as soon as we cross a little hurdle, we then start leveraging government funds and VC funds. We believe that about 97% of the total budget of ours over 10 years will come from government funds and VC funds, but about 3% will come from grants and donation, where we are free to fail. That's what it is. Basically, I want to end by saying we believe that India has the talent. All we require is the will. It is possible for us. Of course, our situation is not very good. We import most of the things today, but it is possible in about 10 years with the kind of zeal and talent that we have to really make a difference. I'll stop here and take questions. Thank you very much.
Nishani, there are already some questions in the chat. How are you?
Do you want me to start looking at the chat?
No. One of us can read it.
Okay.
I think Papia can go with the questions from the chat. Just
Perfect.
yeah, thank you. Speak relevant questions, Papia.
Yes, 1 minute.
One question was, how can alumni assist? We need the alumni. Please note my email address. I'm putting in the chat again. If you do not have it, write to me. If you want to help, I can't give general solution. In what way can you help? It depends what you can do. Can you participate in one of the one of our challenges, one of our consortiums? Can you do technical help? Can you do mentoring? Can you mentor a startup? Can you create a startup? Can you help us in raising some grant money to begin with? Pretty much any of these things is possible. Depends on. Therefore, write to me. I only when I know who you are and what you would like to do can I suggest what can you do. While Papia is still looking at it,
We can still take the next question.
How is this POTS different from metro? Now, first, there are many differences. First of all, if you take a metro and you go same 15 kilometers, I mean, we have done it in Delhi, in other places. First of all, it is not anywhere to anywhere. Places like Delhi, it is coming close to that. But even if it is anywhere to anywhere, in metro about 15 kilometers, most of the time it is taking more than an hour. Why? First of all, there is a last mile, about 1.5 to 2 kilometers. You have to find some vehicle to go there. That is highly congested. you take 10 to 15 minutes. Then you have to go to the metro station. You have to wait for a metro. And then you will find metro which will stop at every station, does not go directly to, and then possibly you have to change a metro to depending on where you need to go. And again, after you reach, again that metro will stop. And then again, when you get down, you have to again travel a kilometer and a half. So we still find that takes an hour, 10 minutes, hour, 5 minutes. I've tried to use metro in Delhi and I've found that. Here we are guaranteeing 20 minutes. Metro travels with large number of people, therefore has to travel on fixed routes and all that. Here, there is no fixed route. A pod will take maximum of 2 people traveling together or a single person and will just take you directly from your source to destination. There was a question, how much traffic can we handle? We have taken, I don't have the full number, I wish. We have taken the peak traffic of Chennai. We have doubled that. And we said we should be able to handle that in Chennai. And we are able to handle about 70 more. Today's traffic we handle almost 100%. Peak hour, we saw a number of people traveling during peak hour, and we said that's what we will be able to do.
Yeah, next question is, sir, how is the proposed transport system plans to handle traffic offenders, those drive in opposite direction?
No, so that's a different problem. That's a problem on the road. Our pods are going to be elevated. Pods doesn't have, they're autonomous. They have a separate route. How do you handle people? That's a separate question. Our focus is get you from anywhere to anywhere in 20 minutes. These pods are autonomous. Nobody's going to drive them. You start from your home. Say, suppose from my home, I want to go to Research Park. I put on my phone that I want to go to Research Park. On my mobile phone, I'll get, okay, walk to this place, this station, and it will show me the route to walk to that station. I go there, a pod is waiting for me. I get into that pod. Pod will take me within 200, 300 meters of the Research Park. That's the way we plan to do.
Can you speak a bit about how to change directions without much slowdown? Example, EW to NS.
Okay, so there is a slowdown. So, for example, our pod will travel at the average speed of 75 km per hour, maybe 80 km per hour. At the time of changing direction, for about 250 meters, it will start slowing down. It will slow down to as low as 20 km per hour and then pick up again. So it adds roughly about 7, 8 seconds, 10 seconds in those 300, 400 meter travel. We have taken all of that into account because average speed on straight path is going to be 80 km per hour. So we are able to do it in 12 minutes, 15 kilometers.
What is the capital cost for building a pod network?
So we did this complete costing for Chennai. We took Chennai, we didn't take other cities. We took 30 by 30, 20 kilometer by 20 kilometer. We actually did the complete costing for that, 20 kilometer by 20 kilometer. There are two parts of it. What is the one-time investment, both for pods as well as the complete elevated structures and all that? We saw that Chennai will require close to about 13 to 14,000 crore rupees. We then took 10% interest and depreciation for the lifetime. We then took the operation cost. And believe it or not, the cost comes with about 50% occupancy, 22 rupees per kilometer. So we plan to charge close to 4 to 5 rupees per kilometer. And we believe that the whole system can break even quite easily. It is not prohibitive cost. It is a 1/10 of the metro cost. And metro doesn't do that job. Metro is almost 100-year-old technology. Remember that. It was conceived at that time. It played a certain role in kind of congested areas like ours. It is not going to. See, metros exist in Delhi. Still, people continue to drive. Doesn't change.
Dr. M. Anand asking, we have been mostly on the following mode of the respect to the mobility. Um, Against the rate of population growth, can the mobility infra plan be 15 to 20 years ahead into the future of what could be the need and then work for it at pace? Then we
Okay.
shall make a
We,
difference.
we,
Could
we
you?
have taken for example, when we planned it, we took the peak traffic and we assumed that the peak traffic Chennai, then it will get doubled over the next 25, 30 years. And we have designed with that in mind. Now, what will happen is that as the pods start working and a lot of people start using it, in fact, the traffic on the road will go down and the traffic on the road also will move much faster.
And this is little different type of questions regarding urban flooding. This is created not allowing rain to percolate to soil. Soil is a living being, needs water. My input
I totally agree with all the statement. I saw that. Point is, this has happened. Now, do we cry, do we criticize, or do we solve our problems? Sure, anything that can be done to percolate water to the soil should be done. In fact, we are doing that. There are very nice pits that can be created, which will percolate to a reasonable extent water. But remember, the rainfall are hard. In 2-3 hours, when it rains 6 inches, it cannot percolate in the soil. That's the time flooding happens. So the flood problem and percolation through the problem is a separate. During that heavy rain, you need to get the water out. But light rain or even during that percolation, today very nice pits are being designed. The same group is actually designing it such that water can percolate. But during heavy rain, not more than 10% water can percolate. Percolation to the ground is slow.
What about the sewage management system? And IITM Research Park has any startup working on that?
So there are lots of different solutions people are coming with. We have been studying every single thing. People sort of say if we make the multi-modal transport, it will solve the problem. Many other things have been tried. I've been looking at it for the last 15, 20 years. You know, I will tell you about this. 1981, when I came to IIT Madras, I wanted a telephone. It took me 8 years to get a telephone. And inside me, it was something was biting. Why does it take 8 years to get a telephone? And there was all kinds of solutions being people were trying, we'll somehow remove the waiting list, but it never happened. Waiting list continued. And we actually figured out the main reason is basically economics. The economics did not work. The telephone was too expensive and our incomes were not good enough that we would not spend enough on telephony, and the person who provide telephony will make loss. Now, if it's a loss-making enterprise, how will it be funded? It can only be funded by subsidy, and therefore government released a certain amount of subsidy per year, and therefore that many telephone lines were only added. We had said that we need to reduce the capital cost of installing a telephone by 4 times, from 40,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees per line. And if we do that, then it will become a profitable system and everybody will get telephone. Everybody said it's impossible. That time, the only telephone that we knew was by burying it in the ground, cables in the ground. From Adyar Telephone Exchange, there was a cable that was coming to a home, and I had to wait 8 years to get that line. We conceived of wireless, Bhaskar Ramurthy and myself, in 1989, 90, 91. Everybody said, fooling around, with the wireless cannot be possible, cannot scale. And even if it does, it will cost you 1 lakh rupee per line, whereas the landline was costing 40,000 rupees. We knew that landline has no potential of reducing cost because copper cost does not go down, cost of digging does not go down. We said wireless, on the other hand, we are replacing copper by electronics and software. Software is one-time cost. Electronics, if we make the ICs, it will write the Moore's law, and sooner or later we'll be able to reduce the cost. And we went all out. I don't know whether many of you know, we decided not to take money from the government. We took money from the private. We went in 1994, we went to large industry. We knew only the large industrialist, the top person can only give money. We went to Sunil Mittal, we went to Mahendra Natha, Rajiv, Mukesh Ambani. We got WS Industry chairman. We got from 4 of them 75 lakhs rupees each. Today it will be 75 crore rupees. We didn't even have a paper design. We got that 3 crore, fortunately partnered with Analog Devices. We made the system, installed it in Adyar, Besant Nagar area. When people saw that and saw the proof, then only people started saying yes, something like. Today people don't even understand what is so great about wireless. I'll tell you the same thing will happen tomorrow for this kind of transport system. We can keep on trying this multimodal, this, that. We need, today, the kind of traffic that we had, we need an alternate means of transport. And it has to be within 300 or 400 meters of my walking. I should be able to get, and then I should be able to get to directly to the destination in 12, 13 minutes. That's the kind of thing. Any other solution? Most welcome. We have conceived of this solution and are building it.
Please share how we alumni can assist.
I've mentioned that. I've given
Yes.
my email address. I said, please write to me. I can't give a general answer. It depends. There is a Deepak Arora and there is Badri Shadri. They will contribute in different ways. Write to me. I like to interact with you. I answer every mail and figure out what can you do. There is enough to be done and you certainly can make a difference.
Yes, sir, you have addressed most of the questions. So,
Badri?
tomorrow,
Papia, I would like to ask a question more from Professor's book, or rather, book about Professor that's coming
okay,
up.
please. Sure.
The couple of questions I have, and depends on the time. One is the IIT Madras Research Park. It's an amazing, concept. I mean, that it could even come up, as a IIT alumnus, I'm still amazed that it could be built. So I would like Professor to say a couple of words about big challenges. I mean, many of which is covered in the book, but for the sake of audience here, how he could even conjure that out of, nothing in that particular place.
The first conception was 1998. I was asked by Professor Natarajan, who was the director then, and Muthu Krishnan to accompany them to US to meet the alumni, IIT Madras alumni. And by that time, I and Bhaskar were discussing that we made the wireless and local loop successful because we were able to put academia, industry, and startup together. We need a place where industry, academia, and startup can come together. And we said we'd like to build a research park where the three can come together. I conceived of this and presented. I was not sure about this. I presented it in US in I think 3 or 4 cities. Everywhere the alumni felt that this was a great idea, should be tried. I came back and started looking at it, talking to a number of different people. That's a time different people started mentoring me. One of the first person who did was Ratan Tata. I used to be on the board of Tata Communications and Tata Teleservices. And I one day talked to him about this. He says, it's a great idea, but let me tell you, Professor, if you build it inside the campus, we will not come. I said, why, sir? He says, campus runs with different logic. Industrial R&D has to be done with different logic. You built it adjacent to IIT Madras, not inside IIT Madras. The second person that I met, there are many people that I did, was Professor Indiresam. Most of you know our former director. He was really, really very happy with the idea. He said, however, this has to be built independent of government and independent of IIT Madras. I said, what do you mean by independent? It is going to be IIT Madras. He says, it should be an independent company. You can have a board, strong board with alumni, industrialists, and IITM faculty, and even government. But let IIT Madras not decide. Deans and directors should not start deciding. It should be independent management, reporting not only to the board. Of course, if board tells you to do something, that you have to do. But otherwise, day-to-day interference should not be there. Same thing was actually told to me by Vinod Rai. Vinod Rai is the ex-CAG. Some of you may have heard of him, the fairly famous CAG. He was on the board on State Bank of India along with me. I was on the board. And he told me, Ashok, if you make it dependent on the government, your dream will never be achieved. So then after a lot of discussion, I first of all tried to get land. Took me 2007, finally I was taken to the chief minister. I told her about the idea that we do a lot of publication. We are very good scientists, but we don't do translation. And we now need to build a research park where we'll do the translation. And she liked the idea immediately. And even though that place we have now land, there was Jayalalitha Film City in her own name. She said, carve out 12 acres and give 11 acres, 10 and a half acres and give it to them. And it was, of course, it took us a year after that to get it. Then Vinod Rai and others have said that, yes, you can take some money, seed money from government and alumni, but don't depend on them. Have a strong business plan. So we said, yes, we'll have all of these people in the board. We are 14 members on the board, including 3 members, including director and dean and myself from IIT Madras. There were 3 or 4 alumni. There were 3 from government and 4 industrialists. And we ran it independent of anybody. And from a day one, like a business plan, like any other startup, we are very clear we'll rather close this rather than go begging for money from anyone else. I even said beyond a certain point, I don't want money even from alumni. Even donations, I don't want. We simultaneously did IITM incubation cell in a very similar manner. We said we don't mind your giving small CSR money and other seed money to the incubatees, but we don't want to take money because we want to stand on a business plan. And that's what we did. And we went on and on. We were very tight, like any other startup. We ran it like a startup and took us time, but we succeeded. We had big vision. Therefore, to architecture, I went to the best architecture, Hafiz contractor in the country. I told him, sir, I do not have money, but I want the best thing to be done. I have very limited amount of money. And somehow he liked the idea, say he will work with me. And he initially said cost is going to be some amount. I said, I don't have money. I have only 70% of the money. He said, then we have to change my specification. I said, don't change the specification. With 70% money, I will build that whole thing. And I learned with the help of several civil engineering professors and several others, how to really save costs. Our civil engineering faculty members participated. So whole lot of faculty. One input point that I remember in 2007 or 8, before we started Research Park, I had done a small survey and about 7% of our faculty had ever worked with industry. Today, more than 50% of our faculty work for industry. And believe it or not, there are faculty members who have today 100 crore rupees asset because they have participated in startups. We changed. I have talked in my book. In 93, one of very senior professor who I respected a lot one day came and told me, Ashok, you are doing, so far I have supported you. You have tried to do many things, but now you are doing something wrong. I said, what am I doing wrong? He says, this is the place educational institute like IITM is a place where you worship Saraswati. You are bringing Lakshmi. And you know, Lakshmi and Saraswati does not get along well with each other. You are going to destroy IIT. I was taken aback because I used to have I respected him a lot. Thought about it for 2, 3 days and went back to him and said, Sir, I disagree with you. I don't think this is a myth that Saraswati and Lakshmi did not get along well together. Throughout the humankind, the knowledge has been used to create wealth. Not necessarily wealth for a individual, but wealth for society has to be created. Then I say in my stay in US, etc., I saw every professor participated in the industry. Today we have isolated itself. I said, this is not, I believe Saraswati and Lakshmi can work together. We have to make them work together. Another bottleneck that came, when we started doing this, question came between me, Bhaskar and Timothy Gonzalez, should we take stakes in the company? And in ourselves in the process, if we succeed, become rich. We three of us thought about it quite a bit and said, the three of us will not. Because we are trying to make the transition. The minute it is known that we are trying to take stakes and we are trying to become rich, everybody will say, oh, these are people are only doing it for money. Within IIT, there will be huge resistance and people will throw stones at us. I said, three of us are pioneers. So we can't be driven by money. We will not take money, but we will encourage after us everybody to take stakes. And I'm very glad to say there are faculty members today who have stakes, which is where their value is 100 crore rupees. Remember, otherwise, lifelong a faculty works and barely has assets of about 5 crore, 6 crore rupees. As a result, we are starting to get better faculty also in IIT because people say, oh, IIT Madras, if you go, you not only do teaching, but you also work with industry. So all this is a positive thing. We conceived of it, of course, learned in the process, made many mistakes, many failures. There was a question, why don't you take this 3% advance from government? You know, you are taking a very high risk money. Let this 3% money comes from donors. There are enough donors. We are not looking at huge money. We are talking in 10 years, only about 500 crore rupees of total in 10 years of grant money. We leverage then 10,000 crore rupees of VC money and 5,000 crore rupees of government funds. I know government funds and VC funds are available, not for very high risk. Even if we take advance, we'll get into trouble. We need some, and we are getting that. We are starting with that, and we are proceeding. I'm telling you, in both in the flood, urban waterlogging, as well as hashtag, we have failed many times. That is the key. My email, somebody is asking, I'm again giving my email, ashok@tenet.res.in. Please write to me. I can send you a copy of the presentation.
Professor, one last question from me. Amazing story. The fact that you have decided, you along with Bhaskar and Timothy Gonzalez, not wanting to take stakes because you had to be an example. Unbelievable. Because I mean, you brought me into Unifor when Unifor started. On behalf of NRDC, I was the director for that period they were there. Today, Unifor is a unicorn. $2.5 billion or some big valuation.
$4 billion.
And a lot of which happened because of you. And you were involved.
I don't think it happened due to me.
No, I mean, it's certainly by Umesh and Ravi, but it changed its approach so many times.
They are my kids. They were my kids. They used to spend hours. Average, I will say over the years, 10 years, they have spent about 7-8 hours a week at my home.
Right. Fantastic.
And it has been very tough. I used to be very tough.
No, you are tough on everyone, always. So that's the case. But it's a great story. I mean, so many companies have been coming out and doing so well. It's a great contribution overall. Thank you for that, Prof.
Any other question that anybody wants me to try to?
Nishani?
Yeah, hi.
Yes. In fact, there is a question, can people, so those who become our partner and start working with us, we do angel investing in the startups. We have a method by which we can do angel investing. All those who are partnering with us and working with us in some manner or other. Jagdish, thank you very much. I see you.
Thank you, Professor. This was such a lovely, lovely, lovely session. Really very, very interactive. And thank you for keeping your time and taking all the questions from our audience. And patiently giving your email address again and again. Thank you. Really, thank you from our side, from the whole executive committee. I'm sure from the audience, I can see a lot of hearts and a lot of hands going up. So this is really nice. But dear audience, please, there is a book launch in Chennai at MMA on 25th.
25th, yeah.
25th in the evening.
6
So
p.m.
if
I
you're
think.
IITM alumni, you would have got our email, but we will be sending another email as well. So stay tuned for that and please do register for it. I think this is going to be a fabulous book launch. And thank you, Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for your
it's at
time.
6 p.m. Just to clarify,
It's at
the
6 p.m.
time is at 6 p.m. High tea starts at 5:15 p.m. and the venue is Madras Management Association, Anna Salai, Chennai, on 25th.
Thank you. Do write to me, anybody. You have my email address. Even if you do not like what I'm saying, I like to hear the criticism. It helps.
Thank you.
There is a recording, Namrata. It'll be available on YouTube by tomorrow or day after. We'll send you the recording. Or you can check out the YouTube channel of IITMAA. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Nishani, Papia, Vinod, and Badri. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Right,
Thank
Fabulous
you.
session today.
Yeah.
Thank you.